Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
From the Lizard release, that's Saigon Kick with the Hostile Youth. And speaking of Hostile Youth, Chris, we had this guy on the show a little over a year ago, and he was quickly one of our top favorite guests that we've ever had on the CMS, and that's no lie.
No, they're definitely one of the best, still one of the most talked about interviews ever, man.
Well, we want to welcome back to the Classic Metal Show the ever-eloquent and, controversial Phil Varone. Welcome back, Phil.
Howdy, kids. How are you?
Good. Well, Phil, we talked to you when you were just releasing your film.
Right.
And you were dabbling in stand-up.
I was, right.
And your life was pretty clean and orderly at the time?
Yeah.
So have you fallen off the wagon?
No, I haven't fallen off the wagon, although I went through it was a pretty weird year, to say the least. I actually got married 7 months ago, and I've been divorced for 6. So that should tell you right off the bat how that went. It was a solid 1-month marriage that was just amazing. So that heinously failed. But other than that, I'm pretty good. I'm doing real good. I'm got my comedy show kicking ass. I've been writing a lot, so I'm having a good time.
Well, Phil, that was the thing that one of the reasons I reached out to you to actually come back on the show, man. It seems like every couple of weeks I get a little flyer from this person that saw your show or from the MySpace promoting shows or whatever. It really does seem like you've kind of made the transition out of music and into comedy, man. Is that true? And B, how difficult of a transition was it?
Well, yeah, I'm still actually in the transition because it is difficult. In all honesty, I mean, I thought that, coming from the music side, entertainment's entertainment, but really comedy has been, it's a lot of fun, but man, it's a lot of work. And learning how to be a comic has been trying, to say the least. It's because you don't have the crutch of your band. Rock stars get up there, we play our music, the crowd is there to see us, they love it. Even if we play like crap, they still cheer because it's their favorite song. But when you're up on stage, when it's you and a microphone and a room full of people that can give a flying shit what band you're in or where you come from, it's a whole different ball game. And it's been a very sobering experience as far as like humbling, your ego and all that stuff. And it's really helped me in everything else that I'm doing because, I'm doing speaking engagements, lectures for colleges, and the stand-up, the acting part of it, all of it is really kind of intertwined. So it's been going really good. And on top of it, I'm having a blast with comedy. Meeting these great comics, all these huge comics are my friends. I get to put on these great shows. The crowds have been great, and I can't wait to put it on a tour and finally get around the U.S. and stuff so people could see it.
Sure. Now, I would imagine for you, too, Phil, it's probably harder than, Joe Comic that nobody's ever heard of before because, basically from the get-go, you cannot go up there and just eat your balls on the stage, man. I mean, if you suck, people already know your name as opposed to, the guy that won the open mic night on Wednesday, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. I was watching there's a documentary called Comedian that was Jerry Seinfeld, and him and Colin Quinn were sitting there, and I think Colin Quinn said, Jack Nicholson can get up and do comedy, and they'll give him 5 minutes because he's Jack Nicholson, but after that, they'll boo him right off the stage if he's not funny. Right. And I've seen that time and time again. I've seen people get up on stage. You'll be in a club, and there'll be an actor in the audience, and they think they're funny for a few minutes, and they get up there, and people are just not amused. They can give a shit. And we're talking about L.A., of course, which is very jaded. I mean, L.A. is it's a tough room. The whole place is. I mean, for bands, for comics and everything. And yeah, people that come to comedy clubs want to see comedy. And I can honestly tell you that it's a younger crowd too. They don't know who Saigon Kick is. They don't know who Skid Row is most of the time. All they know is that I'm some old washed-up rock star trying to be funny now, which is definitely against me. But it actually makes you work harder. Now, my show, the Sex Stand-Up and Rock and Roll show that I do at the Improv and at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach, that show is like my fan base. You know, I host it. I do a little bit of comedy, but I actually have really great comics on that. So that show runs really well, and I have a lot of fun doing it because I have everything going on in that show: sex, comedy, rock and roll, everything. So it's not so much the burden on me so much. I leave it to the professionals, as I say, to be funny.
Well, Phil, do you still play the drums at all, or are you still gigging at all, or have you just put that behind you, or what's your status with, keeping up with your other craft?
I haven't played in a while. I did a record here. There's a project right now that I'm being asked to produce, and believe it or not, it's a young artist. She's 12, who's amazing. And it happens to be the daughter of a very close friend of mine. And I have a couple of guys that are producers and great engineers that have done every record that you could possibly imagine. And that might be a project that I'm going to get involved in, and I'll actually play drums on it, write songs, and produce it along with with a friend of mine. We're going to do a co-production on it. So that would be the next step that I would do if I do start playing. But as of now, I've been really concentrating on acting and comedy, and not so much playing drums anymore, although I have to say that I miss it. You know, I see my friends all the time that are playing out there, and get emails from my friends that are out on the road, and I do miss it. But I think that this new career choice is going to work for me. I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Well, good. I had been reading little blurbs of news that Saigon Kick, at least part of it, is going to reunite for a one-off next summer for some festival. Are you part of that?
Yeah, we're going to do a festival. It's the man. You know, I don't even know the name of the festival. This is so bad. But it's August, and there's going to be 3 of Saigon Kick players, just not the guitar player. So. But yeah, I'm a part of it. They you know, it's funny. Especially with Saigon Kick. I mean, Matt Kramer and I are very, very close friends, and they contacted me, and I was like, I'm not really playing music right now, and they were really adamant about the band, and I'm like, you're talking about Saigon Kick, right? Not Skid Row. Like you realize I was in Saigon Kick first, and they're like, no, we want Saigon Kick. We want Saigon Kick. So Matt Kramer and I have done Saigon Kick shows anyhow. So, yeah, we decided to do a show. So it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be August of 2009. So, I mean, we're talking about a year from now. And God only knows what's going to happen in a year. So, but, yeah, as of now, there is we do have that date.
Sure. Now, I wanted to ask you about your movie, your Waking Up Dead movie. What's the status of that? Is that readily available on DVD, and how well did it do around the country or around the world for you? You were doing it at independent festivals and things like that?
Yeah, we did the whole festival run. It came out in the U.S. with a soft release, and you can get it now in stores, or you can get it on Amazon and stuff like that. But the worldwide release is Tuesday the 27th. And that's going to be because the company is based out of the UK, and they're going to do a worldwide release over there that covers everything else. We just wanted to get it out in the States for press and stuff to kind of build up for the worldwide release. So now it's slated for October 27th, which is Tuesday coming, and we'll see what happens. You know, it's again in these situations you kind of It's up to the distributor to really get out there and do it. Because he's out in the UK, it's still takes a little bit on the communication side. But other than that, it's coming out Tuesday. I hope it does well. At this point, it's 8 years since we started filming it. So life is completely different now. And it's such a different mindset that after 8 years of doing something, it finally comes out. So I just hope that it helps people. I don't really, in all honesty, I'm not sitting back going, oh, this is going to be, Batman. It's just going to be, it's going to be something that people are going to pick up. And I've been getting nothing but positive responses from it. And if it helps people, man, then it was worth every second of it. And I still stand behind it. I think it's a great piece of work. I enjoyed producing it and editing it with Fabio Jaffe, who's the director. We had we butted heads a lot to make a product, and I think we did very well in that sense. but it's not something that I'm kind of dwelling on anymore. And I just hope that the company does its job. And if it doesn't, we'll just sue like anybody else and, re-release it at one point. It's just going to be, that's just normal business. So we'll see what happens.
Sure. Well, Phil, we had told you back when you first put the disc out or the DVD out, and when we got it, man, it was brilliant in the sickness of it. And I'm sure you understood that then. I'm curious now that you've that you've gotten yourself clean and you've stayed off the horse, so to speak. What do you think now when you look at it? Do you still look at it as, well, that's gone, or do you look at it and go and just think, dude, how the fuck did I get there?
Man, first of all, I can't even watch the movie because it's brutal, and I'm there now. I don't think I'm ever going to be away from it. It's just a matter of controlling yourself, So I just kind of live like that. I just kind of go through my days and just have a lot of respect for the drug and kind of fear it in a sense. And I think that it gets me along. And of course, you have the people around you, the support people that you can talk to if you have any type of cravings and stuff. But every day I crave that. Every day. Because it was part of my life so much. And, in the addict brain, that's how we're programmed. So what we do now is try to figure out how to not do it and stay grounded and do other things. And that's what I do. But it's brutal. I don't sit back and go, oh my God, how did my life turn that way? Because let me tell you something. Even during that really bad time, it was like a great time. I mean, if you can ask any alcoholic or addict, they'll tell you, boy, I had fun.
Oh yeah.
You do regret a lot of it in the sense of the people that you hurt, but in general, I was moving through life and I don't regret. I just move forward and go, okay, so let's not let this affect my life the way it did, because it definitely did affect my life in a very negative way. But I'm not going to sit back and go, oh my God, how did I do that? I mean, it's what I am, and that's how I live. Now I kind of put the energy towards something else, like now it's comedy or writing or whatever. It's you just focus your energy and your addiction to something else. That's how I kind of move through it. And
sure.
And again, too, I get these great emails from people, and that kind of just reassures me when I see, when I get these emails and the people like, dude, I watched your movie. It totally helped me. I decided that I'm going to, clean my act up, or it helped my friend. I gave that's what it's all about. So that helps me tremendously when people send me those kind of emails.
Is that kind of what got you through? I mean, after doing a whole month of marital bliss, I mean, how did you not go right back to a pile of coke after breaking up after a full month?
Well, in all honesty, it actually helped me not to, because it was the first time I made like a lucid decision that I was like, what am I doing here? And not to get into the personal side of things, it's just that when you get with somebody, let me put it to this way: if I was doing the blow and stuff, I would still be with her. If that makes any sense, because I wouldn't be clear to realize that it was the wrong thing. And the fact of the matter is that, listen, I was just rooked. That's all there is to it. When you get into a relationship and you expect something out of somebody and they tell you they are that person and they're truly not, and then, and a month later, I mean, we were together for a year, but after that, as soon as the ring was on, boom, somebody changed. I can't control that, but I was smart enough to go, forget it, I'm out,
Right.
And that's what it was about, so. And I think that I couldn't have done that if I was all whacked out of my brain. I would still be in a really bad, volatile situation that eventually would have turned into something bad, So,
sure.
So in that sense, no, I didn't have to go to anything. I actually went, I'm out. My brain is good. I got to get out of here. And, I went to people that are strong, that I talked to, and it works.
Right, very cool. Well, Phil, I'm curious too, with the movie out there, and I mean, clearly, if I had not watched the video, I would not believe some of the stuff. I mean, the stories that you could tell about that video are too unbelievable. The thing about ruining credit cards because you cut so much coke with it and stuff like that is just craziness. How do you now transition? Because from what I know of what you're doing now outside of the comedy, you're getting yourself pretty active in a lot of fairly major projects. I know you did an appearance or two on Californication on Showtime, and you did something on NBC too, I believe, right?
Yeah, I did a show called what was it? Identity. Yeah, I just did a student film. And, I'm just starting in that end and trying to get out there. And, again, on the comedy side, I've been writing a lot. We're actually going to shoot third week of November. I'm shooting an EPK trailer to this new show I wrote called Washed Up. And I got this really cool new director who's like 22, just won all these awards for short films, loves the project, so I hooked into it. I got my other comedy show in this Laugh Factory of Long Beach, finally got management. So, yeah, things are starting to come together, and I'm still learning and working as much as I can. I mean, that's all we can do here. Every day is a learning process. When I look at the big picture, it's like I've only been doing comedy and trying to act for 2 years. That's a newborn in the world. And if you actually think about it, if somebody started playing drums only a year or two ago, they're not ready to do what I've done. I have 25, 30 years playing of experience. That's a whole different ballgame. So I'm just working and learning and keep my eyes and ears open and learning how to do the thing the right way. And so far, it's finally starting to pay off. And I just had to be in a mindset to get to that point now. And things are really looking up. And I'm looking forward to getting out there where people are going to see me a little more. But the Californication thing, that comes out in 3 weeks, I think, is my episode. So.
Very cool. Is it difficult to get people to trust you because of what they can easily see if they rent a DVD?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, listen, people are going to think anything they want. I think a lot of the times when you meet people and you don't know them, your preconceived, thoughts, notions, whatever of this person is usually different than after you meet them. You're like, holy crap, I never thought you'd be this way. I mean, that happens to me. When I meet people, I'm like, oh, I expected something completely different. So, yeah, I mean, when you initially meet people, but once you get into a room with someone and they actually can hear you talk and they know that you're pretty, your brain is okay and, that you actually can have a sentence and speak your mind, I think that they're okay with it. And to be quite honest with you, everybody in Hollywood does blow and drugs and drinks, so it's not like it's something new. I'm walking in guess what? I invented this. Have you ever seen this? Everyone's like, oh, yeah, and they're still doing it. So half the time I'm the sober one in the room anyhow. So it actually works okay.
Sure. Well, it's not everyone though that has 2 hours of video of them doing themselves that way either, though.
Well, that's very true. I mean, but again, putting that stuff out there for people to see was the reason behind it is obviously to help as well. So, and yeah, as my old therapist said, hey, if you ever think twice about it, you have some video to go back and look at. So.
Well, Phil, now that now that you're in a whole different world with the comedy and the acting and stuff, do you take time out to pay attention to what's going on in the music world with maybe some of your former peers or whatever? Do you pay much attention to that at all?
I really don't. Not to sound like a snob or anything. I just don't find it interesting anymore. Although my friends that come to town will call me. My buddies from Slaughter were here last night, and my friends from White Lion just played a couple of days ago. Motley was playing. I mean, that they're playing out there and invite you to shows. It's just for me, it's usually I have a show that night or I'm doing something else. But I'm aware of those guys. As far as the new music, I have no clue. I got to call my 16-year-old daughter to find out what's hot, on the radio now.
Sure.
I'm just so not connected into music anymore. I just don't care. And I think that the state of the music industry is pathetic. I think most of the bands out there are just horrendous. And just like anything else, the really cool bands are the ones that are still doing it themselves, doing it on iTunes and whatever. And every crappy band out there is the one selling 1 million records that haven't even gone through puberty yet. So I don't have any time for that. I just still come from the old school, get out there, grassroots, be a good band, and you'll sell some records. And now it's just if I see one more Jonas Brothers thing, I'm going to hang myself. It's pathetic. So I don't even pay attention to that anymore.
Right. Well, one of the pieces of news that's not like it's so earth-shaking news is the band Warrant.
Yeah.
It took years to finally get all of the original members back together, and Janie couldn't even make it through 10 shows.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I like Janie. I like him a lot, and it's just, you know, he's got a problem. It's no different than any one of us, and the band put together and they went loose, you know, and you drink a lot and you do a lot of drugs and you go on the road and it just doesn't work anymore, especially when you're 45. I just turned 41 last week. It's like I'm 41 years old, and it's like I'm not 20 anymore. I can't do that. And when a 41, 45, 50-year-old person decides to hit the road again and just go out of control, it's going to be worse. And you think you're Superman, but you're really not. Your old-ass bones and bodies don't hold up anymore. You don't bounce back like we used to when you're 20. And those situations are sad. I feel horrible for them. And when I saw that YouTube video of Janie, I honestly felt bad for him. It was sad. It wasn't like, you know, most people are like, oh my God, look at Janie, can you believe this crap, and like and glowing in it. It actually made me feel sad.
Yeah.
You know, because it's I don't want to see that happen to him or anybody for that matter. Because Warrant is a cool band, like just like we all were. You know, we were making music, selling records, and the people that were there to see a good show, unfortunately, didn't get one. And all they wanted to do was have some fun. You know, and I'm sure that if you rewound it, Janie would definitely want to take that one back. I doubt he did that because he wanted to ruin a show. It's just that's I used to do that too on the road. We just get so hammered up and party and get caught in the moment and just push the limits. Our limits are way bigger than most of the people, and then unfortunately in this case it was a disaster. And it was kind of sad in that respect. And I had nothing but the best for Janie. And I hope that it all works out for him and he gets the help that he needs, you know. But I'm also not going to preach because I've been there. I can't preach about his addiction or what he is going through. That's between him and his program and his sobriety. It has nothing to do with me, and it's out of line for anybody to even interject into that because nobody knows what he's going through. And when he figures it out is when he'll fix it. And until then, I just hope that, you know, he can get through life. I mean, that's all you can really ask for.
Well, sure. Well, Phil, obviously you pulled yourself out of the environment, you know, out of that whole touring rigmarole completely, and obviously Janie, it probably wouldn't hurt him to do that. I'm curious now, you know, you as somebody that's done it for years and years and years, can a person go on tour without getting involved in that kind of shit?
I don't know because that's been a question that's been on my brain since I left in 2004. If I went out on a road, what would happen? I don't know. I'd like to say that I would be okay, but I just don't know. It's such a different environment. It's so hard. I mean, you barely get through the day in regular life, not wanting to use or, you know, get hammered up or party up a storm, you know. And when you're on the road and you have a free ticket to do whatever you want, it's really hard, man. It's really hard. So I don't know, honestly. And I know that there are people. I know Nikki and all those guys stay sober, and there is a sober movement that I found through like NA and AA that they go out on the road and they actually have meetings, on the tour itself. So that's kind of cool, and they kind of keep everybody sober. They'll pick out the sober people. But I also know the other side of it, which is just like, you know, out of control. So it's really tough. It's not an environment that's really a good place to be for an addict in any way, because the addiction, there's plenty of stuff. You got your sex addiction covered, you got your drugs, you got your alcohol, you got your music. I mean, it covers every addiction is covered, and all you have to do is show up, which is basically a bus that puts you on it with some guy that handles you around and puts you on your drums and sets them up for you. So it's a pretty good place to really go crazy. So I don't know. I don't know if I can tour, but I would like to again at one point, but I just don't know right now.
I hear you, man. And you know what? You get more respect, I think, for not doing it because why rock the boat when the boat's floating fine? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to take this comedy tour out on the road. I have to, you know. And at that point, it'll hopefully, I mean, it's going to be very rock and roll as well. But at that point, I'm going to have to deal with those demons. Yes, I mean, I'm going to have to deal with it in some way. But the comedy side of it is a little different than the rock and roll side. It's not going to be, you know, we're going to play some cool places and stuff, but it's a very different vibe, comedy is, compared to the rock and roll side. So I'm hoping that we can get through it and just put some good shows on and, you know, not lose anyone. So.
Right. Well, Phil, with the comedy thing, man, the one thing that Neeley and I will both tell you is we're big fans of comedians, man. There's a lot of them that we like. Like I personally am a huge fan of Jim Norton or Bill Burr or Patrice O'Neal. I guess the New York side, more or less, because that's what I hear a lot. But obviously, it seems like the bigger name comics seem to somehow get themselves aligned these days with a major morning radio show. Do you see that? And is that kind of how a comedian drives themselves to try and look for that in somewhere to, expand what they do?
It's funny. I did a show. There was a local station here that was an internet radio show, and I went down and did an interview, and I decided to put a show on the air. Unfortunately, I pulled the show because the owner of the station gave me the wrong numbers, and it was just a big facade for basically a scam to make money, is what his whole deal was. But in the process, I put together a radio show. I had a 2-hour show from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. I had a co-host. I had the Sex, Stand Up, and Rock and Roll radio show. I did the exact show that I would do live, and I did it on the radio, and we had a blast. And I had so much fun, and I would give anything to get a radio show. I mean, absolutely, I had the time of my life. And it's funny, too, because my father actually listened. And he calls me up, and he goes, I think you're right for this. This is something you should do, and that's coming from your father, which is hilarious to me, because usually, and he's brutally honest. But he's like, I think you got to hang for that. I think you should do it. So it's something that I would definitely do. And I know that that there are comics that have their shows here. I know Corolla has his morning show here, and so it's just I'm sure that comics would do anything like that, and it seems to be decent money in music. I mean, in radio, to do the talk show side. I wouldn't want to be a DJ in the sense of spinning records. I would be more of like on the Howard Stern side. Like that would be interesting to me. And sure. I'm still in the process of looking for some kind of radio show. I really am. I do Playboy Radio a lot, and I have a great time over there. And I would love to like kind of get a show with Playboy Radio or something, where you get risque and you can do whatever you want. So, but it's definitely it was definitely very cool and something that I'm looking forward to doing in the future.
Well, do you feel that you could be one of those off the cuff guys who just riff just off the top of your head, kind of a improv spontaneous thing on a radio show? I don't know if you listen to Opie and Anthony at all, but Jim Norton provides that for them, and Phil and like Chris was saying, Patrice O'Neal. Those two guys are just hysterical.
Oh yeah, I mean Norton's great. I love Norton. Bill Burr is another one that I love too. But yeah, that's it's a lot of fun when you. What I found in radio for the short time I did it was outside of you're interviewing people, which is pretty cool because that's a whole different. I'm used to talking, as you can tell. So all of a sudden you have to shut up for a second. But where to put the bits in is kind of like what I learned around comics. So I would love to do something like that. That's not a problem at all. In fact, when I had my restaurant in Terre Haute, Indiana, at one point, I actually called in the radio stations and did voices for them because believe it or not, the salaries were so low there that the morning show guy was my delivery guy at my restaurant. So he would go to do the morning show, and then he would come to my restaurant and deliver during the day. That's how bad it is over there. And but I used to help him by calling in and doing bits to the show. So it's definitely something I would do. Absolutely, I'd love to.
So Phil, you pretty much got a standing gig at certain comedy stores around the LA area then?
As far as the clubs here?
Uh-huh.
Well, I have a show at the Improv, and that's on Saturday nights. And I have a show at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach on the other Saturdays. I alternate Saturday nights. So I have a show every week here in LA. And, well, LA and Long Beach, back and forth. I mean, Long Beach is about 45 minutes from LA. So it's a different crowd over there in Long Beach. It's more of a college vibe, little, more money over there, where the LA crowd is more rock and roll and, kind of older. And, again, just exciting crowd and fun. So I have the shows back and forth, yeah.
Well, this is a little off the cuff here, but what's your thoughts on Monday night at the Key Club with Steel Panther? You've been to those shows?
Oh, you're talking about Metal School?
Yeah, Metal School, Steel Panther.
Yeah, I have. I've gone to his show. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's great. It's just a lot of fun. It's a blast. I was definitely, people go there religiously to see it every week, and that's not. I couldn't do that, but for the I went there a while ago, and I really enjoyed myself. It's a very funny, mocking rock and roll thing that is just absolutely hilarious and dead on. And those guys are really good players, and they just do it, and it's a really great time, and it's packed. I mean, they just got Monday nights is packed. People live for it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you that.
Sure. Well, I was just out there last week, and their lead vocalist Ralph Saines is a good friend of mine, and actually, I don't know if you know him or not, or even heard of him, but Nader the Priest, formerly of London. Are you familiar with him at all?
No.
No. Well, he opened up the show, and on a Monday night in downtown Hollywood on the Strip, to see people lined up on the sidewalk trying to get into this place is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's funny. People don't realize that Monday nights is a huge night to go out. Thursday is a huge night. Saturday is the huge night. So those are it's weird how those nights you would think Monday night people go out. That place is packed to the rafters every Monday night. Period. Yep. It is just packed, and that's what's so cool. You have that built-in thing, and then they have another show right across at the Viper Room. My friend has a show in there on Monday night as well, and they kind of go back and forth with that. They'll go to the Viper early, and they'll see all that stuff, and then Metal School goes on at 12:31, and they go back there. It's so it's right across from there. So that everybody they pick those nights, and they're off nights that you wouldn't think that people go out, but boy, they do. And and which is the whole point of what we do. As long as you have something entertaining, people are going to come.
Sure.
And that's what I did with the Sex, Stand-Up, and Rock and Roll show. That's what Metal School's doing. That's what my buddy Justin's doing with the Viper Room. If you put something entertaining, people will find out, and they will definitely go. You got sex, you got rock and roll, you got chicks, you got booze. It works, and you'll get those nights. So I'm fortunate to have a Saturday night. Saturday nights kick ass.
Great. Well, Phil, it's been cool catching up with you, and I'm glad to see that your new fledgling career is working out for you, and you're getting work in both TV and your comedy act, and you got plans for the future and all that good stuff. So where can people find out about Phil Varone and all that good stuff?
Well, if I'm not on the news for something bad, you can go to MySpace, of course, and just MySpace/Phil Varone and say hello. I answer everything. I'm on there. I'm in my change my default picture every day routine. I've been doing crazy photo shoots, so it's the what I can put in front of me naked shoots. So they've been pretty interesting. So I've been doing that every day and promoting my shows, and the fans have been great. So if you want to email me, say hello. MySpace.com/Phil Varone. Say hi.
Excellent, Phil. Or is there anything else you want to tell the fans and, let them know what you're doing?
That's about it right now. I'm just, hopefully I'm looking in 2009 to head out on the road, my comedy tour. Hopefully get some TV shows happening. And, of course, in August of 2009, the Saigon Kick thing. But other than that, I keep everything pretty much up to date on my MySpace page. And I'm also on Facebook as well. Same thing with Phil Varone. And I just keep everything up to date over there. So things change so quick around here. So I'm also actually doing I'm presenting at the Los Angeles Music Awards November 20th, I believe. It's on my schedule. But it's another cool music award event for, L.A. music in general. And you'll be able to see that. They're going to broadcast it. We're going to tape it on the 20th or whatever, and then they're going to broadcast it right after that when they edit the show together. But it'll showcase local, like Los Angeles music scene, bigger acts that have come out of L.A., and then, of course, up-and-coming acts as well. So it's a very cool show.
Excellent, Phil. Well, one last question, Phil. Chinese democracy, are you stoked?
I have not heard it. Have you heard it?
Well, it's not out yet, but it's going to be supposedly out in Best Buy on November 23rd.
I think that thing took as long as Waking Up Dead to come out, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 8 years, wasn't it?
13.
Is it 13? Really? It is 13 years?
Yep.
Wow. Unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of Axl without Guns N' Roses, so I really have no interest in it. I might buy 4 of them so I can use it as coasters on my coffee table. But other than that, I got no interest.
Excellent, Phil. All right, Phil, again, we appreciate you taking the time, and you're always welcome back to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. So, if there's nothing else, how about taking us out of here with a song? You got a song from any band you like in particular?
Unfortunately, one of my favorite new bands is this band called Ashley Red, and they're not signed yet, and they're actually going to be on my show. So unfortunately, but just in general, I would have to go with how about some Jane's Addiction, Mountain Song.
Okay, I think we could probably pull that one out.
Yeah, I love Jane's. Always love those guys.
Excellent. All right, we'll go visit Phil over his MySpace, myspace.com/Phil Varone, and let him know you heard him here on the Classic Metal Show. And if you're in the Southern California area, go check him out at one of his comedy shows. So here it is. This is Jane's Addiction with what, Phil?
The Mountain Song.
Exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.